And again, just storing it and using it for whatever extraneous reason. Look, maybe I've watched way too much shit like Minority Report, read way too much for my life, but in the world we live in right now, information flows and hits servers every single day. There's no avoidance. But having just those basic level of privacy, not a Christian, okay? Your private photos, your private messages, your email, the relationships you cultivate in your personal life, stored on the server for backup purposes, that can be allowed to work through anyone except you. Trust. Simple as that. And if that means sometimes you make things harder for law enforcement agents against cops, or not against cops, but against the bad guys, I think that's okay, right? Because throwing the baby out with the bathwater, aka your privacy and your basic rights, maybe the cops have to work a little bit harder, but how fucking shit to be honest with you. Privacy is a no compromise thing, and I've talked about this damn near 9, 10 years, numerous times throughout my channel since the very beginning. If you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Just like it, just like it out.
What if I use this?
Our modern world.
The main one of the extraordinary animals, but this raccoon needs to take extra care. She's a mom. This is the Americans where we search for the one.
We have talked about 2 of the 3 houses on SpongeBob's iconic street, so it's only right we take a look at the third one. 120 Conch Street, aka Patrick's Rock, is what we're doing a deep dive on today. Patrick's Rock is just that, a rock. But somehow it ends up being probably the most complicated and interesting building in Bikini Bottom I've talked about yet. In F Wanted, we get our first look on it, very briefly. So here we see that his home is very small under the rock, with just a lamp, a chair, and a TV. But the next time we see the inside in Home Sweet Pineapple, it's even smaller.
Good night, SpongeBob.
Here we see Patrick's Rock is only used as a blanket since there is absolutely no space underneath.
Is it time already to ruin Squid's day?
We also learn in this episode that he made this house himself.
I built my house all by myself.
The version of Patrick's house with just a TV chair and lamp is pretty consistent though, at least throughout the first seasons, with it looking like this in season 3's Rockabye Bible.
I'm going back to work.
But then in the secret box, the season before, things change a lot, as Patrick's house is now a lot bigger on the inside.
Who's it?
Now he don't even have the chair and TV, but a lot more space and the bed. This is obviously contradicting how we slept in both Homes with Pineapple and how we often sleep just stuck to the rock, like the sea star is. Also in season 2 we got I'm with Stupid, where we get some important lore.
What the hell, improvement?
Patrick makes his own furniture out of sand. This is, I'm pretty sure, the first instance of this happening, but it will pretty much be canon moving on. I know where to go. Let me lead the way so we don't get lost. Now, hold hands now. Okay, we're almost there. Let's go on three. 1, 2, 3. In this episode, Patrick has created like a real house interior. He has a sand TV instead of the real TV we see in other episodes, and he has a sand couch and even other rooms.
So, what's on your mind? Oh, wait, I already know the answer. Nothing. See, that's funny. Good job.
I don't know why, but the doorway being made out of sand makes this house so crazily comfy. Like, I almost take back what I said in the video about Squidward's house, because I want to live here as well.
Don't worry, I'll keep this warm for you.
I have a confession to make. I lied about being stupid.
Then, at the end of the episode, it looks like the house has imploded, and it's now just some sand on the same level as the rock, like in Home Sweet Pineapple. And then, if we move on to season 4, we got Patrick Smartpants.
Winter is coming. Leave your furnace running with emergency air, signature deep clean and tune. Our expert technicians go above and beyond, cleaning every piece of your system, even pulling and cleaning the blower unit. This means better efficiency, fewer breakdowns, and even improved indoor air quality. New customers can book now for just $59, normally $199.
Are you better, Pat? What you doing?
Just studying this amazing subspecies.
I'll show you subspecies.
What is it good one?
Well, since I'm finished with my work, I'll humor you with your trivial pursuits.
Here, the interior looks pretty much similar to I'm with Stupid, with the same holes in the sand as doors.
Why have we grown apart? I must apply all that I know to solve this problem.
Then, later in the episode, we see some mixture with real books on the sand shelf. So, I guess sand books are out of the question. Well, it's Patrick, so it's not like books are going to be very important for the lore here. In Bummer Vacation, also in season 4, he has the same big space, but nothing there at all.
What do they think they are? Just here's how I went to this place and they think they can just fire me like that? Like trash? I don't think so.
SpongeBob? Is that you?
I've been waiting for you, Patrick.
Moving on to season 5, we got 2 shorter episodes that both take place primarily in here, so we gotta take a look at them. And first, we got Rise and Shine. Here, Patrick has yet again some sand furniture, but a real flop. We see him get some food out of the sand locker, and then he watches a sand TV that actually works.
It's the Genie Pie!
Next, we see that he even has stairs, not just holes and walls. This episode so far shows the most intricate design of Patrick's house, and that continues with his next scene.
A clean mouth is a happy mouth. Oh.
Patrick even has a bathroom that can be used a lot. Even a sand bathtub, Bro really went all out for this episode. And the other season 5 short that showcases his house is The Donut of Shame.
Beautiful specimen of that. A donut this nice deserves to be served on by China.
Now that's actually crazy. If you pause, we can see Patrick's basic interior design with the chair, lamp, and TV, but as soon as he jumps down, it's back to the big sand home. Then later in the episode, we see Patrick flush the donuts down sand toilets, and then we get one of my favorite jokes in the entire post-movie SpongeBob.
Wait, I don't have an attic. Oh, I don't. Yeah.
Three epic series, one legendary night.
See, Rivals. Biggest moments. WWE Superstar Sunday. New season premieres Sunday at 8. Only on 80.
That attic joke is just so funny to me. Going back to season 4, in the Pink Purloiner, we see Patrick's house might be even bigger than we saw before. Or, I guess, after.
Oh, Patrick, where are you? The lights off.
I'm in here. Come second.
Reliable.
The Sorcerer Supreme lives.
What did I hit, Patrick?
Here, it looks like Patrick's house can have more than one floor. I mean, it's possible with how shapeable the sand is. In season 7's Grove Spout, when Mr. Krabs break into Patrick's house, we see he has a fridge with food in it.
After all, it's already cold. If you let me put it. You don't worry, Turtle. Daddy found you some things. Oh.
So Patrick's sand might not be as compact as we have seen before. This could explain why Patrick's house changes so much, because it falls apart and stuff all the time. Patrick bounces around the house a lot, so that's not unbelievable that he would have to rebuild. In Rule of Thumb, Patrick's rock is rebuilt into a castle.
You up with something. Do you think the giant black tree TV should go out with a fancy display or the indoor swimming?
But that means a lot of new rooms and stuff is added, and most of it ain't even in sand, so it's not really relevant. Most of this episode sucks. In the season 9 episode, Patrick the Game, Patrick has a sand clock, and his home seems kind of shrunken down compared to the last appearances.
Hey, please step into my game of Aria.
Aria.
In Pads the Horse, in season 11, we start the episode at the Rock, where SpongeBob is reading a bedtime story to Patrick.
Okay, Patrick. One more book, then you go to sleep, okay? This one is called You Can Be Anything.
I can be it.
This, if anything, confirms that Patrick can build new furniture really fast, because I have never even seen a chair this close to a bed before. At least put it into the corner of the room. Like, you want someone to sit there and stare at you while you sleep? What? Then in the season 12 episode Shell Games, we get kind of a crazy twist with Patrick's rock actually being a turtle's shell.
Oh boy, how long was I out? Long enough for all this crud to get stuck on my shell. Nasty.
This is not canon. Like, get this stuff out of here. It's a rock. Also, in season 12, we have a Pat Hart Squid, where Squidward moves in with Patrick after the 8th trillion Squidward house destruction.
You can take 5 minutes, sweetie old buddy.
It won't be so bad staying here after all.
Sleep tight. Don't let this end my time. Make a little special.
You'll need a top-notch team to win this one.
In this episode, Patrick has a bedroom for Squidward, while he himself hangs from the rock ceiling.
A wandering salamander. To find a mate, he sets out on an extraordinary journey that has never been filmed before. The scope of the Americas is so massive, it's an epic journey across Earth's
Get ready.
What is this place?
You can go over this? Well, I figured it. Might as well make it livable.
The rest of the episode has the house changed, since Squidward makes it more like his own home.
Starts in 5, 4, 3.
Well, Patrick, time for another lovely day in the flower garden of life.
You brick. You brick.
So, yet again, I forgot to record an ending. I was editing and realized that I was at the end of the video with no type of conclusion, so I'm back now, sometime later. So if there is anything to take away from this video, it's that Patrick's house is the most inconsistent house on Conch Street, for good reason, since it's basically all made out of sand. Whether you wanna view the rock being Tony's shell as something that is canon or not, it's up to you. But with how Patrick's rock has gotten destroyed multiple times over the course of the show, it don't really make sense with how he supposedly have been sleeping in there for 30 years.
I was left alone. My voice like 30 years ago. Years old. Maybe I never was a morning person.
To me, Patrick is living under a rock with some sand furniture and sometimes real furniture, and that's good enough for me. I want to talk about some other houses, like, Sandy's Tree Dome, Mr. Krabs' house, but I would also like to do more obscure topics with these lore videos, like the ones I did on SpongeBob's house, which I find more interesting, so we'll see what's next.
University of Utah sits at 4,330 feet above sea level. Rising up more than 11,000 feet behind campus are the Wasatch Mountains. They inspire us to set our sights high. None more so than our 240 graduate programs. You'll find renowned professors with lofty expectations from themselves and from you. Graduate projects you'll work on will get surrounded by more than 600 postdoctoral and research associates pushing you to new heights. Getting an advanced degree from Utah is advanced learning from one of the top universities in the West. But it is worth the climb. It will put you in the best position to succeed in your chosen field, whether that's somewhere around the globe or right here in Utah that boasts the #1 economy in the nation. Along the way, you'll be supported by a wide range of university resources, all in a vibrant, stunning environment. Because in Utah, we don't just gaze up at those incredible mountains. We have a ton of fun coming down them as well.
The right heroes could make all the difference.
So SpongeBob has always been a bit weird, right? Like the original show is just out there sometimes. Now they don't really ever go to the extent of something like Ren and Stimpy, but just look at this stuff. Today we are gonna dive into SpongeBob's long history with horror. Now, of course, SpongeBob has explored horror elements ever since the beginning. Season 1 has 2 Halloween episodes where Scaredy Pants is just kind of a feel-good trick-or-treat episode with kind of disturbing imagery at the end where we see SpongeBob with his brain exposed. It's a great episode, but this stuff is kind of light compared to the other Season 1 Halloween episode, I Was a Teenage Gary, where we see SpongeBob take on body horror. After Squidward promises to take care of SpongeBob's pet snail Gary, while SpongeBob is away, and then forgets to do the one thing he had to do, feed him, Gary gets super sick, and the snail doctor comes, and now Gary gotta have a shot. SpongeBob is SpongeBob, so he obviously can't do it. So Squidward gotta do it, and due to SpongeBob holding Gary and torching him, it ends up with Squidward giving SpongeBob the shot instead by accident. Now the episode actually gets really creepy as SpongeBob transforms into a snail and then goes to meow at Squidward, who is rightfully terrified. The last part of the episode has Sponge-Snail invading Squidward's house, leading Squidward eventually also accidentally giving himself the shots. The last scene has all of the snails sitting and meowing at the fence that you're spawning for this episode, and Patrick throwing a shoe at Squidward. As the seasons went on, the show just went further and further with more horror elements. Still not as far as the internet would go, but that's for another video. As much as I love the golden era of SpongeBob with the first 3 seasons, you really gotta go post-movie to find the really creepy stuff. But I will take every chance I can get to talk about pre-movie SpongeBob, so let's go through the few examples there are in seasons 2 and 3. Actually, there are only 3. So it's just gonna be 2 season 2 episodes, and 2 really good ones. First we got Shanghai, arguably the best special of the whole show. In this episode, Squidward's house gets smashed by the Flying Dutchman's anchor, and the 3 Conch Street neighbors going up to explore. Now, what I would like to talk about on this episode, perfectly showcases the amazing comedic timing of the early seasons, it's the Fly of Despair that's the main attraction here. Not only is this detail shots here just perfect, or multiple detail shots, I guess, because Squidward is falling, the backgrounds being beautifully painted. I never really paid that much attention to the monsters in there as a kid, but just pausing and looking at the faces, nah bro, this definitely gave some kids nightmares. I don't really have childhood trauma from this scene or anything, but I definitely have that from the other Scary Season 2 episode. The Graveyard Shift is an amazing episode. In my opinion, probably a top 5 episode of the whole show. This episode sees Mr. Krabs opening the Krusty Krab for 24 hours and adding a night shift that Squidward and SpongeBob had to work. SpongeBob, of course, annoys Squidward, which is hilarious.
Nice.
Eventually, SpongeBob starts getting scared of the dark, and this scene of him running to the dumpster and screaming is one of my favorites.
Eat that cake.
Squidward is now pissed, so he decides to make up a scary story about the hash-slinging slasher to scare SpongeBob.
Funeral 85. Every Monday. Tuesday night. His ghost returns to the trusty.
This iconic story freaks out SpongeBob to the point where he can't stop screaming. Squidward very quickly gets annoyed again and tells him it was just a fake story to shut him up. This leads to SpongeBob laughing instead of screaming, which is just as annoying. Now something kind of interesting happens. The episode feels like it's about to end. After Squidward reveals the story wasn't true, the music starts playing and it really feels like it's done here.
Oh.
But the episode has a whole second half, and it's there all the creepy stuff really come in. We cut to the outside of the Krusty Krab as it's now really the night shift. We get one of the best jokes of the whole show.
Who wants a Krusty Krab at 3 in the morning?
After he's just a ghost. Now some weird stuff happens. All the things that Squidward mentioned in the hash-slinging slasher story, nothing. It's weird. It starts happening like real life in the Krusty Krab.
What? Hello? Hello?
Oh, nice try, Squidward.
Nice try what?
The phone will ring, and it'll be
Next, the bus pulls up, even though the buses don't run this late. Then the hash-slinging slasher starts walking towards the Krusty Krab. This, of course, creeps out Squidward. SpongeBob, though, is a dumbass, of course, so he still thinks this is Squidward playing a prank on him. But after Squidward explains to SpongeBob that he can't be dressed up as the hash-slinging slasher, since he is right there next to SpongeBob, SpongeBob freaks out as well.
No matter what I said.
Well, listen here. It was just this kid who wanted to apply for a job and was being really worried about the whole thing. And his own bus, apparently. I mean, that was kind of a creepy episode. Not that bad, though.
Who was flickering the lights? No, stop.
This terrified me as a kid. Still plus, Nosferatu smiling is like one of those images that are just engraved into my head. I haven't watched the original movie, which just turned 100 years old, by the way. But just the design of Nosferatu is amazing. Probably the scariest vampire I've ever seen. It definitely helps that I was young scared by him in a SpongeBob episode when I was like 6 years old. Now we are going to move into the post-movie era of SpongeBob. This is after the first SpongeBob movie and after SpongeBob's creator, Steven Hillenburg, RIP, left the show. As a proud SpongeBober, this is not my favorite era of SpongeBob, but for fans of previous SpongeBob, really interesting. The first episode of this new era has horror elements already. Season 4, Episode 1, Fear of the Krabby Patty, sees Mr. Krabs opening the Krusty Krab for 24 hours. Wait a minute. After a few days of working completely non-stop, SpongeBob rightfully starts going crazy. He starts being scared of Krabby Patties and having nightmares about them. Dream is actually kind of creepy.
Where is this heck staying? I'm checking for a car on Carmen. A car? Sure.
That's a big purchase.
Relax. I got pre-qualified and shopped by my monthly budget, so I know it's a good decision. Unlike the living pure change.
The ones keeping business in gear and always moving forward. It's Grinch. We're the ones who get it done.
The current score is 0-3.
Becca?
Time to switch
Oh,
things up,
hi.
including which side you're on.
Fine. I'm Brian.
Hey,
Coffee?
feel like you've been catfished? Here's an edible for that. It was just the beginning. Get all kinds of deliciousness delivered in an hour or less at edible.com. See website for details and restrictions.
Find the Pokemon League near you.
Oh.
Yeah.
What society can exist to off making mischief together? No.
I'll give you some cans.
We're getting guys.
Bye.
30 seconds. Get ready.
Another variant.
Which use some of
Squiggle Tentacle Pants, also in Season 4, has to show a second attempt at Bullet Tour, with the Sandy Science Wing accidentally fusing SpongeBob and Squidward together. The ending is by far the most memorable part, actually horrifying. Ghost Host sees the return of the Flying Dutchman. Pretty much anytime he shows up in the show, it's gonna be a somewhat horror-inspired episode. Or just pirate, I guess. In Ghost Host, the Dutchman decides to haunt SpongeBob. Yeah, this is some of the most cursed imagery in the whole show. This episode is really interesting because the plot sees SpongeBob eventually growing numb to the Dutchman's scares, and them just not working anymore. SpongeBob not being scared anymore makes the Dutchman become depressed, so now SpongeBob has to help him scare people to get back into it and get off SpongeBob's couch. Once Bitten, I don't know if this one classifies as horror, really. I mean, the whole thing is a zombie parody with Gary biting people and Patrick making everyone think they're infected. I guess it belongs on here, but it's not creepy or anything. The same goes for Season 5's Fungus Among Us. It's kind of a similar zombie affection plot, where SpongeBob gets contaminated by a fungus virus and then has to be quarantined before being broken up by Patrick and then spreading the fungus to everyone else. Mermaid Man versus SpongeBob, also Season 5. There's mind control, I guess. Yeah, I don't need to start skipping episodes because this is not horror. To Save a Squirrel is more qualified for this list since this one has really creepy elements. SpongeBob and Patrick get stuck in a cave after trying to follow Sandy on one of her expeditions.
Weird. There's a door back here, too?
In this cave, they meet this old man who has been here for 40 years. In a very Ren and Stimpy-esque plot, SpongeBob and Patrick slowly go crazy and try to eat each other.
What do you want me to do?
What you doing?
There are some very out there sequences in here. You don't often see stuff like this in kids' cartoons, except for Nisuke, of course. At the peak of the cannibalism, the old man reveals himself to be Sandy, who has been testing them the whole episode for their survival methods. And then it ends like this.
Still hungry.
Me too.
Spongehenge is a very infamous Season 5 episode. In this episode, we see a storm in Bikini Bottom that leads to wind blowing through SpongeBob's holes. This attracts jellyfish, who get in the way of SpongeBob's normal life, forcing him to run away to a cave. Here he stays for a while and builds giant statues of himself, which lets him escape the jellyfish, since they will be attracted to the statues instead. Unfortunately, he was in the caves for a long while, and when he comes back, he sees this.
Oh! Long was I gone!
Well, let's start. Then the ending has aliens come to Bikini Bottom 3,000 years later, where the statues still stand, playing this kind of a haunting melody. This episode is just weird. The best thing to come out of it is Pie Guy Rule's reaction to seeing it in the Trooper Square video game.
Oh, God, no. Please, please, no. No.
In Season 6, we got Gone, which is kinda creepy as well. SpongeBob wakes up alone in Bikini Bottom and gets hunted by his adult ex or something. This episode is weird. Then Squid's visit has SpongeBob be an actual stalker psychopath, tricking Squidward into going over to his house.
My humble I hope that you will find comfort, and please don't hesitate to ask me if there's anything that I can...
Which he has copied to look exactly like Squidward's house. Squidward eventually goes kinda crazy, and we see this. Toy Store of Doom has the two be stuck in a toy store at night, but even though I think it's a pretty good one, it's not really scary at all after like the first 2 minutes. While Season 6 didn't really have any real horror episodes, Season 7 has arguably the biggest one of the whole show, or at least this era. I mean, Graveyard Shift clears. Squidward in Clarinet starts with Squidward being really happy for a change, since he has a clarinet recital after work. He forces Mr. Krabs to bring out the ancient locker so he can keep his clarinet safe during his workday.
It's my old baby locker. Please do.
Oh crap, I have a god token. I was like, huh, time to look at gods. Then I saw a god token and I'm like, wait a minute.
Squidward eventually goes into the locker after SpongeBob redecorates it, and it's a lot bigger on the inside.
Why?
And then I
Because I
guess
don't know.
show.
Where am I? What is this place? My
He ends up in this weird place with a giant evil head that trash talks him and then eats him. Now Squidward lands in a chair with mirrors of himself on each side.
Let's see how this works.
Mirrors of his skin. He starts chasing SpongeBob across a giant clarinet until he ends up in a pinball machine.
What are you doing here? What is this place?
He meets giant Patrick, who tells him that he gotta get out of there because of the pressure. Then the whole ground starts shaking. Squidward gets sucked up by a vacuum machine, and now they're in space. Squidward finally catches SpongeBob with the rocket, where we see Squidward sitting looking like this. Mr. Krabs and SpongeBob walk in and find out that SpongeBob has a clarinet on the outside of the time. Squidward gets pissed and throws SpongeBob inside the locker and shoots it. Then the episode ends and Squidward's clarinet audition with SpongeBob popping out the clarinet case. This episode is pretty solid. It's a nice Alice in Wonderland parody with some actual creepy elements. This episode is also paired with another horror-themed episode. It's not really creepy or scary or anything, but it revolves around ghosts, so it counts. In The Curse of Bikini Bottom, SpongeBob and Patrick move around with Squidward's lawnmower and ends up disturbing the Flying Dutchman and also running over his head, shaving his beard off. He is understandably kind of bad about that and turns them into ghosts as punishments. They try to hold Squidward, but that don't work so good, and then they kind of just go through the episode not being able to do stuff because they're ghosts. That's about it. And we see the Flying Dutchman's girlfriend here. Later in season 7, we have Legends of Bikini Bottom, which is not an episode, but 6 episodes in a miniseries, all focused on 12 Legends of Bikini Bottom. It's the first miniseries of the show, and while not that good, it has multiple episodes with horror themes at least. Ironically, the episode with Monster in the title has nothing to do with horror. It's just Patrick playing with this big monster for 11 minutes and destroying things. Actually, I just realized that only one of these 6 episodes has anything to do with horror, and even that's a stretch. Curse of the Hicks has a witch with a curse on the Krusty Krab, and then there's like a snake thing over this miniseries. Welk Attack also has monsters, these giant snails that attack Bikini Bottom, and they all get eaten eventually. It's an episode of SpongeBob, at least. Then we got Tunnel of Love, where SpongeBob and Pertwee get stuck on a ride and there's a whole Freddy Fazbear thing. Let's move on to Season 8.
He doesn't use mana.
Season 8 has Ghoul Fools, a Lava Lake special where a big ass houseboat crashes in Bikini Bottom.
Come on.
And I was thinking to myself, going like, huh, how come every Thanatos I meet dies pretty quick? Because they missed their fucking ones.
Sacrificing their health.
One sacred.
So, I have 1,500.
To share that gift with everyone. What will be yours?
Good. Oh, it just tells me kind of how much, oh, no, it doesn't. I'm a little lost now. So, let's heal fully. 2,675. 2,515.
Launching helps propel the firing Formula One cars thousands individual parts moving from idea to reality. In every single race, to our peak potential, our people fuel that pursuit. Our technical and operations teams will elaborate these matches to get the car to the track. We don't focus on results. We focus on what leads to results. With Smart Sheets supporting our operations, the results will come.
And I need to reset my cooldown for this.
Turns out it's haunted by a crew of ghost pirates. I kinda wanna make a video about the pirates being in SpongeBob, but this episode mixes the pirate aesthetic with some horror themes, which makes it really enjoyable actually. Patrick thinks it's a fake haunted house, but he is convinced when the captain, Lord Poltergeist, gives him an anchovy pizza.
And let's see D3.
The rest of his crew shows up, and so does the Krusty Krab crew. They are being annoying, and Krabs, Squid, and Pat try to steal Lord Poltergeist's gold, so they are thrown into the void.
Got it.
Zero to 0. Time to switch things up, including which side you're on.
This is by far my favorite part of the episode because it's just really interesting. In here, they are all punished in some way.
It's reasonable
No,
too.
this is Limbo.
Chunk back.
Well, at least I have a sack full of debris to spend it.
Okay. That's honestly not a bad trade.
Mr. Krabs has a sack of money, but he gotta go to the toilet and pay 1 doubloon. How horrible. Patrick gets a donut on his head that he can't reach. Squidward gets tortured by having to deal with this gigantic SpongeBob monster.
I neighbor.
This is the part where I start screaming.
30 seconds before you attack.
Oops, there. After they are let out, we find out that the chest is actually the Flying Dutchman's treasure. These guys were part of his crew and stole it hundreds of years ago. Unfortunately, he is here now to take it back.
Sorry.
The battle starts in 5, 4,
There's a big chase scene, and then the Flying Dutchman transforms into a literal nuke and, well, nukes them. Then we get this card, and we see the Krusty Krab in the void. And then we get this ending. That's kind of out there, even for a SpongeBob ending. In the Krabby Patty that ate Bikini Bottom, Mr. Krabs makes a big-ass Krabby Patty with the help of Sandy. It's not a horror episode really, but the planet of the jellyfish definitely is. This episode starts with SpongeBob and Patrick jellyfishing with this big green jellyfish alien in the background.
Your chance.
We see him legit eat the jellyfish and spit out a copy of it as one of his jelly minions. Next, Patrick gets turned into an alien who catches tons of jellions and tells SpongeBob that they should give one to each of their friends. SpongeBob, of course, thinks it's a great idea, so they go do just that.
Wow, you've given every jellyfish except Squidward. Come on.
You will take one and like.
Patrick sticks the last one through Squidward's mailbox, and it quickly makes a Squidward alien as well. SpongeBob goes home with his jellion, and he's going to sleep. And now we get some creepy stuff.
The bonus shows are
I just hate that now. It's so gross. SpongeBob turned into an alien. Except for this guy, but he gets turned anyway.
I'm sorry how you took the word beer currently out of the condiment you call mayonnaise. Please accept this free jellyfish hat instead.
The aliens really don't like mayonnaise. SpongeBob goes into the freezer and finds the Jellion Overlord and all his friends' real bodies. He tries to get out of the Krusty Krab as everyone tries to turn him. He is chased until he ends up at Sandy's dome. They put on the sunglasses to look like the Jellions, and then they end up at the Krusty Krab, where SpongeBob sprays mayonnaise at everyone, vaporizing them and awakening the real bodies again. Then there's a final standoff with the Jellion Overlord, and yeah, that's about it. On to Season 9, we got Don't Look Now. In this episode, SpongeBob and Patrick go to watch a scary movie and run into Squidward, who is just at the Reef Cinema for some reason.
You may speak.
Patrick, you're going to see Benjamin Boy.
He tells them that they are not going to be able to sleep after watching the movie, and they immediately prove him right by walking in and getting jump scared by the ticket inspector.
Take your seats.
6 seconds, sir. What started?
Then they get jump scared by the title card and hide, so they miss the entire movie. So they decide to stay and watch it again. I don't think that's allowed.
Close eyes, don't scary.
I can't hold your eyelids, and they're too slippery.
They somehow missed the movie once again, but they can't try a third time because the place is closing. Now it's 1 minute to midnight, which is when the fisherman from the movie comes out, so now they're really scared. They run back to SpongeBob's pineapple, but now Patrick is too scared to walk the 10 steps over to his own house. SpongeBob walks him over, but then Fog appears with a figure that looks like the fisherman, so now they are really scared.
Oh, it's just Slasher McGee. Okay, I guess I'll just go home now. What's right over there?
SpongeBob is too scared to walk back by himself, so Patrick walks with him again. They think they see the fisherman's ship and start screaming, waking up Squidward.
Oh, hey, Squidward.
What are you blockheads up to? Don't you know it's after midnight? Okay, come here.
Squidward walks both of them to their houses, and here we get the background image of Car Street at night that I've been using ever since my first video.
Are you okay? Yeah. Are you okay? I think so. Good night. Yeah. Good night. And just don't think about the fisherman.
SpongeBob decides that instead of going to sleep, he's gonna start stuff again and goes to grab a costume.
This is gonna be good.
Today, let's paint with bear.
You don't have very well. What do you? It just says paint.
I thought you said you researched this.
All paint's the same. No, they're not. Get the most trusted paint brand in America at an everyday low price.
Squidward hooks Patrick by the nose, and he gets dragged after him until Patrick runs into SpongeBob's house. They barricade the house, but Squidward comes in through the window. Squidward accidentally reveals himself. SpongeBob and Patrick aren't really the smartest though, so they think the fisherman is eating Squidward, so they hospitalize him.
Look at you, that old monster.
The other episode in the pairing, Seance, however you pronounce this, and that's like ghosts and stuff, but they're just kind of there. Season 10 has no horror-themed episodes, but Season 11 has a whole special. Did it?
This is a video that I saw. Actually, when did this come out? When did this come out? This came out 2 weeks ago, sitting just under 500,000 views. It's a video by Evan F. 1997, titled "The Biggest Cheater in Zombies History." And I have no idea who this could be, what it's about, but fascinating nonetheless. I've spent the past few months covering the Easter eggs and world's first stories of Call of Duty Zombies. My goal was simply to bring old stories back to life. However, every time I began to research, there was one name that just wouldn't leave my screen, and a name that seemed to show itself in every story, often for the wrong reasons. Although chasing more information about this name
was like chasing down the boogeyman, and it quickly became apparent that this was a story I had to bring you guys. Cheaters in any capacity and in any game tarnish great moments and ruin the experience for other players. We've seen streamers get caught cheating, speedrunners get caught cheating, and even professional players get caught cheating live on stage in tournaments before.
Yeah, this has happened like multiple times, by the way.
Once caught, often these players have their careers tarnished forever, and they become an outcast in the respective.
I thank you for the 6 months, my friend.
Games. However, for today's cheater, they managed to steer under the radar, allowing them to repeatedly cheat again and again and again. If you're a longtime Call of Duty player, you may be familiar with the name Play the Game Central, the collective name for a group of players who made a vast amount of...
So I recognize the thumbnail, right? I recognize the thumbnail, but I don't know any of these people individually.
Call of Duty content, particularly in the Black Ops 2 era. The variety of players inside of PTG allowed them to make a varying style of content, both within multiplayer and zombies, although it was primarily their zombies content where their infamy and notoriety would stem from. While PTG were technically a group of players, the most notable was their leader, Ben. And during this video, we will often refer to Ben as PTG due to his significant involvement. Call of Duty Zombies is a round-based horde mode, with the simple goal to survive as long as possible as the difficulty and quantity of enemies increases. For the majority of players, the simple goal of survival and high rounds is enough to keep them satisfied. However, for some players, this goal is not enough, and they wanted more. To satisfy this craving, the developers began to add secret rifles and quests named Easter eggs. These Easter eggs have no in-game guide, prompts, or direction, and it would be purely up to the community to discover, progress through the steps, and complete, with the end goal of an Easter egg normally being to fight a boss, unlock a cutscene, or discover the story implications for the next map. While there is no official Treyarch-sanctioned race to be the first to complete these Easter eggs, pure bragging rights is enough to allure some of the game's best players into an unofficial race to untangle these elaborate zombies.
Oh my god. I just realized what your joke was in chat before. I just realized what your joke.
When I don't know if this would make a video on YouTube, but when I first said the biggest cheater in zombies, someone, who the hell said it? Someone immediately said Noah J. It was Kev with a question mark.
Oh my god.
These puzzles. Not all Easter eggs are free. And the obscure puzzles would sometimes take the community days to discover and complete. Our cheater, however, mysteriously never faced the same challenges others did. PTG's initial rise, according to Zombies veteran Liam Winter, was all the way back in 2010, during the GK Nova 6 alternate reality game that was used to promote Black Ops.
At Cox Mobile, we know you need reliable cell service that goes wherever you do. That's why we run on the network with more nationwide coverage than T-Mobile. For a price you'll love. So you can share your adventures. Welcome to Skyline Preschools and Skyline Prep South Phoenix, where every child's journey is nurtured and celebrated. At Skyline Preschools, we believe that play is the foundation of learning. Our safe, nurturing environment encourages creativity, curiosity, and social skills. Our dedicated educators foster a love for learning, guiding children through exploration and discovery every day. At Skyline Prep South Phoenix, we build on that foundation. Our innovative curriculum promotes critical thinking, collaboration, and a passion for knowledge. Our committed staff empower each child to reach their full potential, ensuring they feel confident and inspired in their learning journey. Join our vibrant community. At Skyline Preschools and Skyline Prep South Phoenix, we're more than just schools. We're
across different cultures.
Yeah, so, just a side note, but Treyarch has always done this thing where their promotional material almost has zero to do with the actual launch of the game. Like, the Bowman thing for Black Ops Cold War, and then Cerberus. What the hell is Cerberus? You guys keep wanting me to make a video about Cerberus, but there's nothing to say about it. It doesn't exist. It's not a real thing. It's not even in the game. It's very odd. It's very odd to do a video on that.
It's a GK Nova 6.
when PTG decided to hijack the game with their own one. This was titled GK Nova Zero. The name and contents of the website were enough to fool a pretty large amount of people into thinking this project was actually affiliated with Treyarch. Eventually, it was revealed that the website was nothing but a hoax, which immediately soured people's opinions of playing the game. But they also gained a small audience of people who really liked the quality of what they had done, and felt like PTG might have some connections to Treyarch in some way. PTG has managed to drift under the radar for years, but the story first started ringing alarm bells when I began to properly research Mob of the Dead. Mob was a controversial map from the start, with leakers at the time posting mega threads on Reddit hating on Treyarch and leaking the map in pretty significant detail. Coincidentally, PTG Central had magically posted a bunch of speculation videos prior to the map's release that were also accurate about the map's content.
So I'm going to be telling you some things that you don't know about the upcoming map pack. I'm not going to tell you what the map pack name is, and I'm not going to tell you what the zombie name is, believe it or not, but I'm going to tell you what the zombie map is, if you get my gist between Dire Guys and Green League Forward. I'm going to tell you what it is, because I think the name is awful, but I know that they needed to use that name to kind of call it the Dead Records, because this is a map all about celebrity in the most minor ways. So, I released a song recently called Alcatraz, so if you haven't heard it, that's
Mob of the Dead released for Xbox users of the 16th of May 2015, and the hunt to crack the Easter egg began right away. Within the first hour, players had started to make really good progress through the egg, building the plane, collecting the Elder Retriever, and more before starting the search for several skulls around the map. But while the community was making good progress, PTG hadn't just made substantially more progress, he had completed the whole Easter egg. Yes, you heard that right. Just around an hour after
what we're getting at here is someone who had extensive background information on the map knew almost what the entire Easter egg was as well.
Mob of the Dead released to public eyes for the first time, PTG uploaded a video of his completion of the Pop Goes the Weasel Easter egg. Not only was the speed of this completion fundamentally suspicious in itself, but PTG's video just showcased the explained, no gas posted. And the zombies community were understandably very suspicious of this completion. Okay? Foul play of some sort. Ben from PTG has since removed the original completion video. The not-so-apologetic apology video he posted shortly after remains live, and honestly just raises more questions than answers.
So I'll be showing you that tomorrow. Sorry to sound cryptic, it's just obviously with this kind of response to our videos, which I always knew was going to happen, as I said, I don't particularly feel in a generous mood when it comes to the other people who I've heard are bad mouthing us. So, but now we're going to keep it close to play the game and our close friends.
Okay.
To deal with stuff, all these people that kind of have supported us for a long, long time. That's very important for us. And the people who badmouth us, they're the ones who wait 2 weeks until they actually figure it out. People who don't are the ones who, it's good to be on.
So basically, Dalek and Allier were on the side of these guys, saying that they're not cheating or something, or supporting them. Meanwhile, they're posting Easter at the end of an Easter egg, but not showing how it's done, which people are considering sketchy. Gotcha.
Ben admits to knowing information beforehand, but still insists that it's not cheating, which seems counterintuitive. It's clear that PTG had a Treyarch-linked source feeding him information about the map, but a comment for PTG on one of his mob videos seems to claim that his source does not work for Treyarch, as Treyarch couldn't afford them. In the video, he's clearly somewhat offended by the negative reaction to his quick
Treyarch couldn't afford them? What?
completion, and refuses.
Here's what kids are saying about this new toy, the zip string.
This is probably the coolest toy I've ever seen. The tricks of
to share steps publicly, saying he only wants to share information with those who have been nice to him, like Allier and Mr. Dalek JD. So, I asked Mr. Dalek JD himself about this.
Yeah, watching that, I'm like,
Yeah, I don't feel comfortable hearing that. It's just like it's kind of ominous sounding, but for a bit of context, even I had to think at the time, like, what was he meaning? I remember now that back in those days of 2013, I wasn't old enough because the game's age rating here in the UK was 18, and I wasn't 18, so I couldn't take part in any Call of Duty events because I wasn't old enough. So I remember at the time.
We'll come back to that.
I was like, well, I can't go to any events because I'm not old enough. They make great zombies videos. Why aren't they doing anything with Activision? And so I think I might have suggested that they work with them. And I thought at the time that was just a nice thing to do. Like, it's like, oh, here's like a fellow creator that isn't getting any limelight working with a publisher when they should do because they make great content. At the time, I had no idea what else was happening in the background, so I assume that's where that mention in that video is referring to, because I'm pretty sure I got them into an early capture.
Yeah, so I happen to know that there were people who would go to Call of Duty events who were not 18, so maybe it's a UK thing, but like, for example, T. Martin used to go to Call of Duty events when he was like under 18 or whatever. I think there was like a couple other people who had been to events who were younger as well. But maybe it's a UK thing? Maybe.
For event for Mob of the Dead. So I assume that's what he meant, saying like, you know, oh, they've been nice to us, so we're going to repay the favour sort of thing. But at the time, I didn't even see it as something like that, like transactional. It was more just I was doing a nice thing because I thought they deserved to be there.
Ben mentions that other creators were bad-mouthing PTG, and this had put him in not the most generous mood. But after some research, it seems these creators were not bad-mouthing PTG without reason. PTG had started to treat other YouTubers like idiots who knew nothing, acting like other forums were playgrounds for children, and Play the Game was the sole place to be if you had a brain and wanted to know the truth about zombies. Because of that mentality, PTG developed problems with almost every single notable competitor that they had. There were frequent attacks on the CallOfDutyZombies.com forums, which was at the time the most popular place to discuss zombies before the rise of Reddit. This was a pretty large turning point in the way that people discuss zombies. And there's a much earlier post from 2011 written by the creator of CallOfDutyZombies.com, where he talks about the site not feeling the same ever since PTG first appeared. You may now rightfully have questions. If PTG had been around since as early as 2010, why is 2013's Mob of the Dead first map worth talking about then? Well, you see, Ben had carried himself as the pillar of knowledge, who was deeply intertwined with the development process of Call of Duty. But ironically, a lot of what Ben claimed to know prior to Mob of the Dead wasn't actually true. I spoke to Liam Winter about PTG's fast completion of Mob of the Dead, and his insight into this is pretty damning for Play the Game.
Okay, let's do a specific feature in leader mode that a lot of people don't know about. You can go to a place and profile in recent games of cross multiplayer, zombies, the game mode. Shortly after Play the Game. Quickly, we were able to watch Ben's recent games in theater. He hadn't played games that day, but one of the earliest was on split screen. One of the players was actively guiding the Easter egg, completing every step with no hesitation. The main Easter egg wasn't the only thing they were pulling off in these games. We used their theater crowd to learn how to do the games. Easter egg. Embarrassingly, we're the first to put out guides for the Easter egg because of this, and the steps are almost all incorrect because they're just trying to piece together what we're seeing. So even the
So he had someone in split screen guiding him, which means the person that was guiding him, he was there with in person.
Side Easter eggs were effective on all the deadlies.
It's also definitely worth noting that Ben from PTG was an avid musician who enjoyed making music, and music that was often linked to zombies. As referenced earlier in the video, Ben released a song named Alcatraz as a means of helping to leak Mob of the Dead location around a week before the map's reveal trailer was released. Interestingly, he goes on to mention that the first lyric of his song is somehow related to the first step of the Easter egg.
Very first lyric of that song literally tells you how to start the Easter egg. That's pretty cool. I mean, it doesn't sound like much, but once you guys are, let's say, aligning yourselves, then you'll be very, very happy to actually just put a line in helps.
The lyrics are, "I don't need your life," which, to me at least, seems to have little to no link to Mob of the Dead's first Easter egg stat. Or maybe this was Ben just being intentionally cryptic for the sake of it. There are a vast amount of old videos that PTG has deleted, lots of which would have likely contained a lot more leaked info. We know this as the old PTG X account still has auto tweets public that were created whenever a video went live. These deleted videos are painted by the remaining words of this account. Tweets like, "Behind the Origins," weeks before the map was set to release. And even a tweet itself saying, "4 first ain't bad." Leaked information is nothing new in video games. But Ben's weird...
Hate that you said he wasn't a top 10 quarterback? Hate that you said he couldn't throw the ball? Hate that he got over when push came to shove? Hate that he always say the right thing?